All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Systems of Wealth podcast. I am your host, Noah Kronfly. Today, I am joined by a very special guest, someone that I have had the opportunity to develop a few campaigns for, learn from, someone that I consider to be a mentor, but much more importantly, a friend. It is Mr. Media Moussavy. Media, thank you so much for joining me today, my friend.
Noah, thank you for thinking of me and having me on the show. It's my pleasure.
Absolutely, absolutely. I was just telling you right before we started, like you're somebody that I have always appreciated, just the passion, the energy that you bring to everything you do. I feel it in everything, like your marketing, your approach. It's just a pleasure to work with somebody that has that type of energy, and like day in and day out has always been that way. So seriously, from the jump, I just wanted to say thank you for being one of those ones that just, again, like I said, has always been that person. Like, it's so interesting when you think about like branding and stuff like that, like that feeling you get when you think about somebody, like it goes a long way. So again, just thank you for being that way. You're really somebody that I've always enjoyed getting the opportunity to work with.
Can you guys see me blushing on camera right now? No. In all honesty, likewise, no. I mean, you've been a part of some of that branding, some of that marketing campaigns and things of that nature. And again, it's an evolving beast, you know. I mean, your
Certainly.
brand is your brand, the message and the theme is the same, but it still evolves as things go.
I
So
love it.
here we
I
are.
love it. So let's start with when somebody asks you like what you do. What do you usually say? What is like your official title when somebody asks you that?
I manage people and their personalities. That's what I tell
Perfect. I
people.
love it.
That's
Yep.
that really is it. You know, it's funny you said that too, because they came up yesterday again, and it's just a common theme. You know, I mean, selling homes, sure, that's like a end result of what we
Hmm.
do, but I mean, I deal with people every day.
Yes.
You know, I deal with
Right.
multiple different personalities, different desires, different wants, different everything. And it's managing those expectations and personalities that we do day in, day out that makes us who we are. And I think
Wow.
that's at the core of what we do.
Oh, I love that. I love that. That's so funny because I've always had like when people ask me same sort of thing, like I'm just Noah. Like I'm just living, I'm just doing what I do. Like I like to solve problems. That's what I do for a living. Like
Yeah.
that's always the way that it's been. That's so funny.
It's like you
So
can take anything back to that, right? It's like
yeah,
if do I create software? No, I write code, but it's like it's all there's all little parts of it.
at the core of it, that's exactly what it is. I love it. So let's just go back a little bit. I want to start because I don't know this so much about you. And I don't know if we you and I have ever talked about this. Like I found marketing and doing digital marketing online because originally I was interested in doing real estate. That was like my original sort of like, okay, I'm going to be an agent. That's the path that I'm going to take. And I tried and I failed the test 3 times. And like as I was studying, I realized like, oh man, like this was probably 6 years ago now. So like at the time, Facebook ads were around, but they were sort of not like super mainstream yet. And so I
Right.
realized like, oh man, if I just learn this skill, I could be the guy that like these agents are going to needing to run this as a service. And so like that was what originally got me sort of in like the niche. But I'd love to just hear kind of your background, like your origin. Where did your entrepreneurial kind of spirit come from, and like what was it about like the real estate kind of mortgage niche that drew you in? Where did that originally come from?
So the mortgage side of things came a little bit of a background was from family. My dad was in
Okay.
the business back in the day, uncle was in it, but it was always something I was interested in. I was interested in the finance side of things, not so much the sales side of it.
Yeah.
But they never really let me get into the business with them back in the day. I don't know
Oh,
what it
really?
was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. Whatever it may have been, whatever reasoning. I mean, I remember I got little dabbles of it in 2006, 7, and then
Uh-huh.
all of a sudden the market crashed. So I
I
saw how things were how things were back then, and it
hmm
really was wild, wild west. It seemed like a very appealing business, but even from somebody from the outside like myself, I was like, seems a little bit too easy and just
Yeah.
it was very lax. So,
Right.
the passion came from there, and I think I had a little chip on my shoulder because they never really wanted to teach me the business or
Yeah.
let me get into it for them.
Certainly.
So, whatever it may be, went from there. I started my own little auto parts import export business.
Oh,
Actually,
no
went
way. Okay.
yeah, I went to China a few times, and
Wow.
I was like, okay, well, it's through a partner of mine that was in the business. He was in auto part business, and he said, look, I have a lot of my competitors that have created their own line of oil filters, auto filters, this, that, whatever it may be, and now they're selling those wholesale and making a good amount of money.
Nice.
So, again, that's part of being entrepreneurial is you always look at these opportunities and hey, can I create a business out of it? So
Right.
I decided, okay, how the hell am I going to find this factory in China that's going to have that product? Because again, that's not a product that you can just get from any factory. I mean, it's oil filter.
No.
If it messes up, the car is in big trouble. So
Right.
I had to actually find the specific factory that, you know, that sourced it basically from the specific factory. Went over there. It
Wow.
was all marketing and branding. This is where I actually started to learn that I'm very marketing and branding
Uh-huh.
focused.
Right.
Is that it was one thing bringing the product here, and a lot of how people were selling it that day, the 3 or 4 competitors, they weren't worrying about branding. It was just
Yeah.
salesman type approach.
Right.
But for me, that's where branding and marketing became a passion of mine because I branded it. It had its own, we had our own material, ads, everything, logo, the whole 9 yards.
Of
So
course.
from there, that went well. Kind of a similar thing I know we were talking about earlier. I had a
Hmm.
partner. Things didn't go well in that regard. So it came down to the point where this is only about 8 years ago, where
Okay.
I kind of was starting from zero, and I'm like,
Okay.
okay. It was a very scary time. It was a very unknown time. I didn't know what I was
Yeah.
going to do, and I said, look, if there's ever any time that you wanted to do what you wanted to do, which is get into the financing side, the mortgage side of things, I mean,
Hmm.
take the opportunity now. Because
I
look,
love
you could
it.
have started this 3, 4 years ago. Look, now you're starting all over again. So
Yeah.
what's the worst that can happen, right?
Right.
So went, got my license, got the testing, got everything done, went, and
Awesome.
it's funny because in that time they said that I was the one interviewing the companies, even though I was the one that was brand new. But I was like, who the hell's going to even accept me? I
Right.
have no experience.
No experience. Yeah.
So started off at a company, American Financial Network, out in
Okay.
Rancho Cucamonga. That's where I
Yep.
was living back then.
Yep.
Went in there, and within two years, I mean, I was doing very well. I would say I
Okay.
was probably about top 10%, in my field,
Dude,
and I was
killer.
hustling. I was wheeling and dealing. I loved it, and I thought this is what it's going to be, for
Yeah.
the rest of my life. I
Right.
love what I'm doing. You're making
Yep.
good money out of it.
Yep.
I'm with a bunch of people. So again, just like anything else in life, that's it's always one step, and then
Curveball happens.
curveball happens, or you want more, or what
Yeah.
you want changes, things like that. So
Right.
doing well, at that time it was then what's the next stage. So it was staying in the mortgage business, but it was focused on LA.
Okay.
I was on the Inland Empire.
Yep.
The prices were a little bit lower. Things have changed obviously now
Hmm.
drastically, but
Right.
also there's a lot more bigger fish and a bigger network of mine that I was building out in LA,
Okay.
that I thought, hey, there's something more for me out that way.
Right.
So what I did was I actually started working for a different mortgage lender out in Pasadena at that time. The reasoning was still in lending, but they had more flexibility to work
Okay.
with more high net worth individuals, higher price
Yeah.
points, things like that. And it was a little different in the sense that you're really operating your own business when you're working at a
Okay.
broker. So a lot of it is not taken care of for you. You basically
Right.
have to build the systems, the processes. You want an assistant. You want people handling it. So
Dude.
that started to become a little more of the back end, creating a business and managing
Right.
a business versus just doing loans. So
Yeah.
that was going well, and I
Hmm.
decided at that time that I am going to get up, sell my home, and move out to LA because
All right.
I was like, we got to burn the bridges. We got to literally just take that jump
Yeah.
and do it. I was working out in Pasadena for about 5, 6 months at that point, going back and
Okay.
forth between Rancho Cucamonga and
Hey.
there. And again,
Yeah.
I'm starting to get a lot more clientele in LA
Hmm.
intentionally. I'm going to downtown. I am purposely focusing on LA,
Hmm.
and I'm starting to build that network, get that clientele. And then all of a sudden, something else happens. Is I realize that okay, the network is not translating into business. Number one. Number
Okay.
two, I need to be in this environment in order for me to be able to work in this environment.
Yeah.
Proximity is definitely power, especially when it
Hmm.
comes to your network and who you're around. That has a lot of different meanings, but we'll get to that a little
Right.
later. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna get up one day, sold the house, moved to
Dude,
LA,
I
and it was
love
the
it.
craziest move because I'm not that guy. At that time it
Yeah.
was, they say comfort is the enemy of success. I was comfortable. There was no
Yeah.
need
Right.
to upend everything and do a drastic move like that.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of fear and doubt,
Of
but there's
course.
also look what you've been through in life, look where you've gone, and
Hmm.
you can make it. What's the worst that can happen again?
Yeah.
So
Same thing.
here
Right.
we go again. Rip that band-aid, moved on out. And I remember my first night in downtown, I was like, what the hell did you just do?
Yeah. What did I do?
It's not like
Right.
I was renting out there. I got up and sold the house and I moved. It was a pretty drastic decision.
Yeah.
But at that time, everybody again I'm meeting is, at that time the loan limits were a little bit lower. So if you're
Okay.
working for anyone but a bank, you can't do any loans that at that time were higher than
Yeah.
700K.
The high balance. Right.
Everyone I'm meeting out here basically are buying houses that are a million, two
Yeah.
million, and so I mean, hey, I'm building a huge network, got
Right.
a bunch of friends, no business.
But no
You
business.
know,
Okay.
and even being in downtown and being in LA, the energy, the vibrancy, the scene. I mean, I used to hate it down here, but
Yeah.
after I did that first deal on the lending side down here, then I did a
Hmm.
second deal. And as I started coming out here, there was some energy that was just calling me, and that's what made me make that decision. It was just
Okay.
a gut feeling, and I just cut the cords and came out here.
Dude,
So
that
now
is
we're out here,
beautiful.
we're meeting a lot of people, both on the professional and personal side of things. Life
Yep.
is happening at 1,000 miles per hour.
Right.
Basically, more happened in that 1 month that probably happened in 5 years. It's
Dude,
just
yes.
hustle and bustle. It's crazy out
Yes.
here. And it's again, it's not translating into business for me. So
Hmm.
at that point, I had a decision to make too, because it wasn't just monetary or just business minded, but it was also lending. To me is a lot more back end. You're a lot more in the office, you're on the phone, you're dealing with a lot
Yep.
more paperwork.
Right.
Real estate is you're dealing with people,
People.
personalities, and not to say that you're not on the lending side, but it's a lot more direct on the real estate side.
Right.
And it's obviously a lot more sales approached, and you're out there. You have to really be meeting people, networking, shaking hands, holding babies, kissing them, doing that all the time. So
Right.
I decided at that point, okay, well, look, you've been on the lending side for about 3.5 years now, and you're at the top of your game.
Hmm.
Why are you going to try to shake that up again, or why are you getting
Yeah.
this feeling? But
Right.
again, it's a feeling, and I did that feeling when I moved to LA, when I moved to the broker side, when I got into the loan business. So I looked at everything that I've done over the last 6 7 years, and each one of these scary decisions that
Hmm.
would break me were actually the beginning of something greater, and it was
Wow.
a stepping stone. So
Wow.
I'm like, look, there's no end to this. It's a journey, and it's constantly something where you have to evolve and take that next step and look for opportunities if they present themselves,
Right.
and believe in yourself and take it. Now, don't be stupid and
Right.
just, take some random, just anything that comes by you. But
Yeah.
it was something that, again, it was eating me up inside. And I decided, look, I am going to now, at the height of my career on the mortgage side of things,
Hmm.
which, was only 3 years, but still, to get to that point, there were people that weren't at that point their whole career.
Of course.
I remember at that time, and this is before the market was going crazy, I was doing 6 to 9 loans a month.
Dude, yeah.
It
No, that's no
this is
joke.
this is like 5 6 years ago,
Yeah.
and it was like, even I was like, what the hell am I doing here? So now, to stop that and to go to the real estate side, it was this very, very scary decision. At that time, I had just moved to downtown,
Okay.
overhead's a little higher. I had
Yep.
just met a woman who would become my wife, a few years down the
Congratulations.
line. So thank
Absolutely.
you, thank you. So, a lot of those things are happening at the same time. Like, you're just gonna literally start from zero in a
Pick up
career
again.
where,
Right.
they say, what, 93% of people fail within the first 2 3 years, whatever
Yeah.
it may be.
Yeah.
And you're not going to make income. You don't have income coming in those first few months. You're really going to do that right now, and expenses are up here, everything else is going to go to zero. So
Right.
I did it.
Dude.
I said, you know what? I had my license at that time, because you had to have both if you were on the broker side with the loan thing. So I said,
Yep.
look, do it. I had some relationships at that time with an individual at Compass out in Malibu. I tried
Okay.
that for a few months,
Yep.
because he said, hey, come on in. This guy was selling, $20 30 million houses. That didn't end up being my jam. It just didn't work out after 3 4 months. And then,
Right.
thankfully, my contacts that I had from the financing side at the agency,
Hmm.
which is where I am now,
Yep.
reached out to him, and I had saved a few loans for them in that day, but we built a
Okay.
relationship, a friendship. He also lived in downtown, just a block or two away. We were kind
Nice.
of this was our stomping grounds. We were always running around here,
Right.
doing the whole social thing. And he said, "Look, I got an interview for you," and I
Wow.
went there, and now that I think about it, because it's not something that you just take a green agent.
Yeah.
They accepted me, and I asked that question too. I'm like, look, I know
Yeah.
you guys don't accept new agents.
Right.
Why am I, it's not because I know anybody. I mean, I do know you, but you don't just
Yeah.
accept people, even if you just know them.
Right.
And he said, no, it's like, look, there's business, and there's two sides of it. You're looking at it as you were in the mortgage loan side of things, and there's the real estate side of things. But then there's business. These are both businesses. You
Hmm.
know how to create a business, you know how to manage a business, you know how to run a business, because that's
Yeah.
what each side is.
Right.
So you doing what you did
Wow.
on the mortgage side and applying it to this, you're not green in that sense.
Hmm.
Green is you have no sales experience whatsoever. You don't know anything
Yeah.
about financing, real estate side.
Right.
So, and this guy's a good friend of mine. He's my broker, he's my manager. His name is Gus Ruelas.
All
He
right.
got me in, and this is only, I've never actually said this, because it's kind
Wow.
of,
We get an exclusive.
no, it's something that I kind of feel like, am I going to lose credibility by saying it or not? But it's the truth. I've only been in the real estate game now. It's my third year on the
Okay.
sales side. A lot of people
Yeah.
think I've been doing this for 20 or 30 years, and I'm not that old, guys. So. No, but it's to Gus's point, I mean, he saw something in me that even I was a lot more fearful, because he said, like, you did it in that, and if you look back in your whole life and you zoom out, we all zoom in on certain things, and it's scary when
Yes.
you're zooming in, or I haven't
Of
done
course.
anything, or I haven't achieved. When you zoom out and you look at the whole picture, you've constantly made it. And
Yeah.
it's, they showed, you've seen that graph where it shows, entrepreneurial,
Yeah. What success?
and it
Right.
really is. It's never like this. And you don't want it to
No.
be like that because then it's
Yeah.
going to fall further too.
Right.
But, you saw that he believed in me and we came in and, it's only three years later now. And this year I got top 1.5% in the
Dude,
country, which
I love it.
doesn't make any sense.
Country.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the second full
Crazy.
year because the first year I started in I think it was July or August. So and then the first year I did pretty well and tripled up the next year and here we are
Yeah.
now.
Dude,
So
insane. Seriously, another congratulations. Like I
thank you,
said it at the
sir.
top. Like it
There is no such thing. There's no end, there's no top. It's all
no.
it's all a journey, and for me it's like, okay, now what?
Yeah,
You
always.
know?
And I think like well, I want to go back a little bit because that question of like on the other side of a very scary decision, like is where you find a lot of like evolution and growth internally. And I feel like myself in a similar position right now of sort of resetting some new targets and sort of deciding like what is it next that I want to get out of myself. And I think
Right.
that voice is there. We all kind of have it, like that
Mhm.
intuition, that gut, whatever you want to call it, whatever that is. And I think the more that you're tuned into it, the more that you listen to it, the more that like you allow that to live and breathe and become alive, like the more those decisions, and then on the other side of it, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so looking back on it now, you're like, I'm so happy that I was able to. But like, what is that with you? Like, how can you push yourself through that, call it fear, to get on the other side and make a decision like that?
I mean, you have to take a leap ultimately. I
Yeah.
mean, you could overthink it all you want. I've been known to do that quite often, or you
Hmm.
could just take action. I
Right.
think, overthinking is procrastination to an extent. I
Right. Of
mean, I'm not saying make decisions without thinking whatsoever,
course.
but you're never going to be 100% on certain decisions,
Yeah.
especially things like, that require you to take that leap of faith.
Right.
So for
Wow.
me, it's look, think it through all you want, but then at some point you're literally just circling yourself with
Yeah.
overthinking thoughts and creating. So ultimately, it's look, believe in yourself.
Hmm.
You're not dumb in the sense that you don't think things through and that you've made decisions. Not everything works out, but also what's the worst that can happen? The
Right.
worst thing is you're going to regret not taking that because there's things that I look back at 15 years ago, 10 years ago, that if I had done it then, where would I be now, et cetera, et
Right.
cetera. So everything is a lesson,
Of
everything
course.
is a stepping stone. And so what's
Hmm.
the worst that can happen? And number two, believe in yourself, your abilities, and that you're not just, you're not doing things very in a rash way. So for me, it's the more you do that, it's like a muscle. You get
Yeah, it's
used
a
to it.
muscle.
For me, it was, first getting into the mortgage side of things. Then it
Hmm.
was selling house. Then it was moving to LA. Then it was, cutting this cord. Then it was jumping into the real estate side. The
Right.
more you do that and the more that you see that it works out,
Hmm.
the more that you believe in yourself. So like,
Yeah.
there's a reason that I feel this way about the next venture or whatever this next
Right.
opportunity or whatever this may be. Take
Right.
it. And
Yeah.
so you get very confident in that
Dude,
regards.
I love that. And that goes back to kind of what you were saying, like, have only been in the business for X amount of years, whatever you want to call it. Like I say that about obviously about myself, my long, extensive career of, being 25 now at this point. Like I think about that a lot, but I also tell myself that even before like I got started doing digital marketing, whatever we want to call it now, like I've been preparing for these moments my entire life. Like
Right.
I've all like being an athlete and the friends and the family, like all the travel, everything that like I've ever exposed myself to as far as experiences and getting new input, like I feel like that is what has chipped away at like me being the person that I am to this point now. And I think it really comes down to like intention. Like, how are you approaching day in and day out with the energy and the passion, the focus of stepping up and being that person for you? And so it really does not surprise me that you are crushing it at your profession, like at this level. Like it really, really doesn't surprise me
Thank
at
you,
all.
man. I really
It's so cool.
appreciate that.
I want to go back a little bit too. So when you like the other thing that has helped me as well, making decisions like that and getting the other side of like something scary is having like real people that I can point to and be like, oh, they're doing it. Like if they're, they can show me the rope sort of thing. Like, would you consider like having mentors or people that like, were mentored that like kind of showed you the ropes that got you, started in what you were doing with, the different respects?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's, mentors both good and bad, but
Of
I use
course.
that more not as a mentor, but more as examples.
Hmm.
But no, I've been blessed to along the way have a little taste of both,
Yeah,
and seeing both the downsides and the upsides of what life can bring
of
depending on how
course.
you take action.
Yeah.
Like I
Yep.
said, getting a little taste of 2006, 2007 before the mortgage meltdown thing. I saw a lot of what happened. And all those guys went out of business, and it was a
Yeah.
crazy time. So that was a very lesson as into what not to do. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Of course.
Now, sure, those guys took advantage of the opportunity that was presented to them. And look, everybody was doing it. So I'm not saying that, anyone's at fault, but look,
Right.
there's certain things that it's going to come home to crow, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that there's a little bit of that. I mean, I think on the broker side, Willie Escobar was my broker. I learned a lot from him. I mean,
Awesome.
he came from a place where, I mean, there was a point, and he says this publicly, where he was ready to just end it all, you know. But he had a
Wow.
wife, kid, and he had hit rock bottom, zero. Built it up to a point where he's very, very successful. The
Nice.
millionaire, you know, he's doing well. He's a
Yeah.
man that I think has a lot of character, integrity,
Mm-hmm.
value, somebody I look up to. We don't work together anymore, but we
Right.
still remain friends. But
Awesome.
you know, that was definitely one of them. Again, there's people in my organization. You see my broker Gus Ruelas. You
Mm-hmm.
have our CEO, our leader, Mauricio Umansky, who, you know, when you look at him, you would think he's very unapproachable, and you know, the guy is
Hmm.
too busy to give you the time of day, and that, you know, things like that, where I find I kind of catch myself sometimes, you know, like, I can't get this call right now, like, what?
Yeah. Right.
But you know, when you look at that and you see that these are people that act with integrity, with character,
Mm-hmm.
they have the time for you, you know, their word is their word. I mean, these are all things that it's part of culture, right?
Right.
So it seeps into each and every person working in the company. And it's been something
Hmm.
that, you know, I've had these individuals in my life, like I said, Willie, Gus,
Yeah.
Mauricio, all were coming up, you know, these are role models to me, you know,
Right.
and it's, you know, it's the same thing for in our company, where it's not an end result, like I said, because you did great, but you're around
Yeah.
people like killing, like, and they're never, you know, when you look at the biggest people in our company, it's just day in, day out. They don't ever
Yes.
feel like they've arrived.
Right.
They didn't do 500 million this year. They didn't
Yeah.
say, it's what are we going to do next year? Well, how can we
Right.
improve? How can we do better? So these examples have been there in my life, you
Yeah.
know, and it's been in every different company, you know, even when I first started on the loan side, same
Mm-hmm.
type thing. But
Yeah.
there's some things that you take with you as to not what to do. And there's
Mm-hmm.
certain things that you take with you that, hey, this is what I want to be. This is where I want to be. And this is the person that's doing it. So
Wow.
there's values, character, integrity, things like that you get from them that you emulate.
Wow,
And
that's a
what you
really,
do.
really good distinction between I mean, like, some of that stuff for sure is ingrained in you that, like, and you know what's interesting about that stuff is, like, it's usually the stuff that, like, you can't really teach, like, being an effective communicator and being a leader and showing up on time and doing those things that, like, is gonna get you almost 80% of the way there. Most people
Right.
are not gonna be able to do that. Even if they do it, consistently doing that over the long term, like, you can for sure just absolutely, like, get away from the herd by just consistently doing that over and over again. But that is the same sort of thing that, like, when you were interviewing, you know, and saying, like, you know, you don't take green agent sort of thing. Well, it's like they saw that in you. It's like, well, you have the skills and the expertise and, like, the traits that don't really, like, no matter what happens, that can't be taken away from you. Like, that will
100%.
never ever be removed no matter what. It's huge.
No, and you know, I think to that point, people are like, you either got it or you don't. I don't believe that to 100% be true, because look,
Mhm.
if you got it, sure, there's people that have a lot of ability, a lot of
Right.
skills, but they don't put it to practice. They're not
Yeah.
persistent. So there's that side of it, and then there's the other side. If you don't have that part of it, but you have persistence, you have
Mhm.
passion, you have drive, that will be book smarts, and that'll be preparation or whatever any day. Now,
100%.
you may have to do so a lot harder than somebody that has the natural God gifted ability to do so. But look, if you have that drive in you and you want it
Mhm.
way more than they do, it doesn't matter what kind of skills they do, you'll get there. So I think it's a
Wow.
combination of both of those things, you know.
Yeah, wow.
I
Wow, that's
don't feel
great.
that the ability is there. I think if you start to do that, I mean, it's not like you're a musician or anything like that.
Yeah,
Sure, some people are
right.
good at sales or whatever. But I think if
Yeah.
you start to do that, you start to get in your head like, hey, I got this. And then,
Yeah.
yeah, for me, it's no, you don't, because
No,
you got
no,
to
no.
constantly keep evolving and
Yeah.
adapting and learning and growing. And
Right.
that's how you do that. So I think humbling yourself, or life does it to you, is a very
Yes,
important
certainly
thing.
life will do it to you.
It has a funny way of
Certainly.
doing that, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really, really does. You know, what's funny about that too is, like, as I've noticed, as I've gotten, like, more experience and have learned more and I've had the environment with, like, clients to be able to apply that knowledge, I always find myself feeling like, gosh, I know less and less. The, like, more that I go up to, the more chances that I get, I'm always like, oh my goodness, like, there's so much more to learn. I know even less than, like, I ever thought that I did. And that is humbling. And it gets me back to the drawing board of being like, okay, I need to be a student. I need to constantly work on my craft and go back to work and, and focus on that. But
Very true.
something that I've been, like, very excited to talk to you about, and a skill that I think you have above and beyond anybody that I, you know, come across consistently that I get to work with, is your marketing and your branding, and the way that you present, and, like, the way that you show your brand is something that I just, like I said, it's it just is clean and crisp and modern, and it's everything that I love about branding. It always has been.
Thank you.
Where does that come from for you? Did you have like a was that like a natural skill for you? Where you're like, okay, I want to get into this. Like, did that kind of come a little down the line? Yeah, yeah. How did you cultivate that sort of muscle?
No, I think that that came down the line. It wasn't something in the beginning where I was like, "Oh, I love marketing" or
Yeah.
anything of that nature. I think initially where I realized I have a little bit of that marketing panache or just a love for it was
Hmm.
when we started the auto part company.
Okay. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
again, branding was very important to me. Our boxes, our logos, our branding, our material, our we had these pitch decks. We had even the
Okay. All
labels
right.
on each one of the part. It was just
Yeah.
something that they had never seen in the industry. I guess it was underappreciated because it wasn't necessary. They would just take a filter out of the box and be like, buy, It was like that. I realized that's where a lot of my passion came in. I also realized that focusing too much on that and not taking action is also a bad thing
Hmm.
because you can focus on a brand and creating a message and all
Yep.
the content all you want. But if you're
Right.
not going out there and throwing that at people, then it's
Yeah.
not
Nobody knows about it. Then all
no.
the
So
brand in the
that was
world.
something I
Yeah.
learned from that. But I think from
Interesting.
there I started to realize, hey, I like this marketing stuff. And then
Yeah.
when I got into the loan side of things, I started
Hmm.
realizing I love this content stuff. And I always
Okay.
loved content, creating content, even back in college, high school, I was in groups that we would create content.
Nice.
But I never liked being on camera, but I always
Yeah.
liked the back end, the editing, the producing, things of
Okay.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So getting in the loan side of things, and they were pushing content, 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 content. And I saw at that time the broker I was with, they turned content into a full-time platform that was generating leads coming into business, this, that.
Hmm.
Now, again, what I learned from that is content is very important.
Yep.
Content is the way of the future. But I think being genuine is also very, very important because then
Right.
you're not trying to craft a message. You're
Yeah.
really being you, you're being what
Yes.
your brand is. So
Wow.
that all came naturally. And again, I think there's so much distraction in this day and age where, I mean, it happens to me too. I look at somebody else, oh, they're doing that. I want to do this. And it doesn't have to work that way. Look, your brand is you. I mean,
Hmm.
I'm not saying don't think outside the box. Definitely try it. But, there's a lot of people you see, and there's a guy in our company. His name is Matt Leonetti. He
Okay.
just won a Inman Award with his partner, who they run the Broke Agent. So
Hmm.
very, very popular site. Matt is a genius marketer and content creator. And I think it was a reel he shared last week, or one that he created that basically said, look, because he does funny videos, man. And
Hmm.
they're elevated, they're funny, they're to the point, but they're very realistic, and you could relate to them.
Okay.
But it's like, look, not everybody has to come out and do this because it may not be you. You may be
Right.
forcing it, and it's just not your brand. And
Right.
and again, we see so much out there, and there's so much thrown at us that it's like, okay, here's my brand, but look what this person's doing. Look what that person's doing. Maybe I should try this. Maybe I should try that. And I
Right.
think it's overwhelming. I think you have to think at a core, what is your message? Who are you? What are your values?
Hmm.
Who are you as an individual? Who is your clientele? That's
Yeah.
another thing as well. I mean, if I went out there and I was doing dances and TikTok dances to my
Right.
clientele, I mean, I wouldn't have my clientele.
Yeah.
I think it's important to also look at that too. I think people come out and they're like, look, I can
Wow.
do whatever I want to do. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you can come on out there because well, look at Gary Vee and Grant Cardone, this, that, and so they come out and they start going, fuck this, fuck that, like Gary Vee. I'm like, you're not Gary
That's
Vee
not
though.
you.
You
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
understand, like, one, that's his brand. That's
Right.
who he is. Two, he's also got the credibility at that point, so he can do
Yes.
that and it works. But if you've done nothing in terms of sales, you come out and you start to do that, everyone's gonna be like, what the hell is this?
Ooh.
So I think it's important to, one, know your audience. Two, know what you're about. Know what your values are. Know what
Wow.
your message is. Know what your brand is all about. If I had to ask you in 2 seconds, so for me, it started to naturally just evolve that way. I started to
Hmm.
build the brand. It started with a logo. It started with my style of videos. It started with the
Hmm.
content. And although now I do want to try different things, but that's who I am. So that's what comes
Yeah.
natural. So it's just I wouldn't say I had it. It just naturally evolved, and it's still evolving.
Yeah. Always is,
It's,
of course.
and that's
That
where we are.
do you like does that because that's sort of the place that I'm in right now is finding what that means to me and being like for the first time sharing online because I've never really ever prioritized this like same sort of thing. I've always enjoyed being on the behind the scenes of like helping other people build like
Right.
same what I've done for you. Like
Right.
I've enjoyed just powering your campaigns forward. Like that's what I've always enjoyed.
Yep.
And now like being in a position where for the very first time I've like had the like sort of want and almost like the internal like okay like I have a desire to share and post a little bit more online but there
Mhm.
comes with that of like oh my gosh, like I'm sharing online now and people are going to see this. And like, do you deal with that? Like, does that
Oh,
ever like
yeah.
come up? Yeah. Okay.
All the time.
Okay.
It does with anyone too. And and that's where I revert back to Gary Vee. He's like, who gives a shit? You
Yeah.
think that people, and you all honestly think that people give a shit too. In 3 days, they're
Right.
gonna forget.
Yeah.
But you're
Everybody's focused on
so
themselves.
fixated
Anyways.
on your head,
Right.
like, oh my God, what do they think about this?
Right.
Bro, they didn't even see it. And it's like, and here's the thing too. Again, you have to put yourself out there. I
Yeah.
mean, you not doing that is you also not taking that jump into entrepreneurship or taking
Yes.
that next opportunity. It's all in line with the same kind of thought
100%.
process. So you
Wow.
putting yourself out there is very scary, but you're creating that fear in your head. What's
Yep.
so scary? That somebody might laugh at you or they might think about it. Well, guess what? They're the spectators. They're on the sidelines. They want to do
It's
the same
easy to
thing
be.
too.
Yeah. Right.
So trust me, it's not easy to do that. But the people
Right.
that put themselves out there, that get laughed at a little bit, that then start to find like, hey, this is working, that's not, and it opens up new opportunities and new avenues and channels. I think it's important to do that. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, there's videos I look back at, especially if you look back at your first videos, you cringe.
Of course.
But then you look
Always.
at where it's come now, and if
Right.
you didn't do that cringe-worthy type of material, then you would
Right.
never evolve to getting to where you are now. So
No.
again, it's just like anything else in life, right? It's you either learn or you get a lesson from it. So it's one of
Yeah.
those. It's a every day. Don't get me wrong. I look at it, I'm like, shit, man, this is gonna be I really want to do this video, or do I want to put this out there,
Yeah.
or what are people gonna think? But at the end of the day, they're one, not paying my bills. Two, it's part of my
Oh, that's a big one. I
yeah,
always
they're
tell myself
not,
that.
and
They're not paying
I'm
my
not
bills.
hurting anyone. Look, they're not paying
Yes.
my bills, they're not hurting anybody. So
Yes.
it's like put
Right.
that out there. What do you have
Yes.
to lose? What do you have to lose? You have nothing to lose. In fact, you have everything to gain. Some pieces of content that I put out that honestly I was like, this is gonna be the worst thing ever. Ended up
Mhm.
being the that piece of content with the most engagement, the most opportunities came from it, and the most
Yes.
like whatever it may be. And it's not about
Right.
the likes. It's not about any of that.
No, no. Yeah, there's a much different like approach to posting type of content just for likes and posting from like a place of, well, I'm in this to make money. Like that's
Right.
essentially what like I'm running a business here. Like that's what I'm doing. And I think, what I go back to, and again, this is like with anything at the beginning, like you're gonna suck. It's gonna suck. Like it's not gonna be good at the beginning, but that's with anything. And like the muscle you build by just doing this consistently and showing up and doing it, like that's where the magic happens. It's always been that way. And I think where it's difficult, especially like you said it in this call today. Like you knew when you were pivoting and going to sort of a new market or a new profession, like there's not going to be any income for a couple months. Like that's with anything, starting a business or doing anything like this. Like there's no results for a couple months, but like if you can get through that first kind of initial phase, whatever that is, like that's where the magic is, and the dots that connect beyond that are nothing that you could ever like predict or ever see like beforehand. It's like
100%.
that's the magic of business and anything. Speaking of that, I want to pivot a little bit to talking about money a little bit, if that's okay. Because
Sure.
I really like, I know finances and numbers are something that you love and that you're really good at. Like, how do you feel like you had a good relationship with money growing up? Like, was that discussed? Did you sort of have to seek that out on your own? Like, how do you feel like that's changed and sort of evolved over time for you?
I think, being first generation American to parents that were immigrants that came over here and had to make it. I
Yeah.
think you're getting a lot more of a conservative approach when it comes to money.
Hmm.
So I think I have a bit of that, but I also have, a lot more where, hey, in our generation, we like to spend. So it's
Yeah.
it's a balance, right? But I think as my business has grown,
Hmm.
as my career has grown, I've become a lot more like my parents in the conservative sense of spending. But at the same time, I think there was a time where I would make and I would hoard everything. Don't
Okay.
invest in the business. Don't
Right.
spend money on this. Don't this that. Whereas now I would say I'm a lot more. I wouldn't say lax, but I take my shots. I reinvest big time. I would
Nice.
say 60-70% of everything that comes back in,
Dude.
I literally throw it out. Whether it be in the form of content,
Yep.
marketing is a huge part of my budget.
Right.
Whether it comes to opportunity, whatever it may be, I am throwing that back in more than I ever had before. And I'm also seeing rewards from that
Yeah.
more than I ever had before. But
Right.
on the personal side, I mean, the relationship with money a lot more now is, hey, we're in a cyclical business. It's a business, you know, nothing is stable and secure forever. So I think
Yeah.
I'm in that sense personally, I'm a lot more conservative now. But when it
Hmm.
comes to the business, sometimes I'm like, holy crap, you spend more on this in 2 months than
Pretty
you did
aggressive.
before. Yeah, yeah, I'm a lot more aggressive. Now again, it's calculated and not
Yes.
everything works, but it's almost
Right.
like, there was times where I was thinking about a marketing campaign for 6 months and I wouldn't launch it. And
Right.
you know, finally you launch it after 6 months and it didn't work. So you wasted those 6 months. You could have done it after 1 month because you were overthinking it, going in circles. I could have just launched that thing out, and then I would have learned that by now I could have done 3 other campaigns and see what
Yes,
worked. So was
man.
that a waste of money? No, it wasn't, because that teaches you, hey, this didn't work, or go back to the drawing board and adapt. So I'm a lot more loose in that sense, where I'm just firing off different campaigns and marketing
Yeah.
channels and let's see what works and pieces of content.
Right.
And I found that, hey, even if one of those works, it makes up for all the other ones. But
Right.
take action, take your shots,
Yeah.
and the more you hoard it, what you got to put the money to work. I mean, what do the wealthiest people in this country do? They put
They're
their money to work. It may be in
working.
real estate or other income producing assets,
Yeah.
but hey, this is your business. For
Mhm.
us, we don't have inventory, we don't have the overhead that other manufacturing type businesses, but we have marketing. That's our biggest expense. So if you're
Right.
not spending on that, which agents are notoriously known for being
Yeah.
very, 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 very cheap. And
Right.
it's funny because especially when times were great last year, the market was booming more than it's ever done before.
Yeah.
And realtors are like, well, I don't need to market. Look, it's all
Yeah.
comes over
Right.
to me. And I'm like, that's one thing I learned from Gus, my broker.
Uh-huh.
He was like, look, when times are good, keep investing, because when it goes down, it's a little bit late to get that engine started again and start
Yes.
revving it up. And
Yeah.
the problem is when times are down, I mean, this year the market's adjusting. It's not a bad market whatsoever.
Mhm.
Then they get even more tight with it. Well, now I don't
Right.
have money to spend. Well,
Yeah.
how do you expect to make how do you expect to get new clients? How do you expect to prospect? How do you expect to create new business? You have to market. So for me this year, I'm spending more than I did last year. I'm doubled down,
Okay.
even though I'm not doing as many deals as I did last year, I
Yeah.
doubled down. But you have to put your foot heavier on the pedal in times like this to make even what you were making before. And
Wow.
from that, new opportunities arise. But
Right.
I get it. A lot of agents are scared, and
Yeah.
it's just because, like I said, we're in a cyclical business. We don't know if that
Hmm.
check is coming next month or in 2 months.
Yeah.
But that also comes down to belief, and you have to believe in
Wow.
yourself. It's going to come. Throw it down. You haven't made a wrong decision so far, and if you
Yeah.
have, why are you where you are today?
Yeah. Learn from that. Right.
You know.
Wow. That's a
So
really, really great
my
philosophy.
relationship with money, conservative on the personal side, and on the
Uh-huh.
business side, very, very aggressive on things that make
Dude.
sense.
I love that. That's awesome. And like, do you approach your calm like financial targets as like, okay, I want to make or generate X this year, and then this is like as many, deals that we need to do month in, month out? Like, is that how you're defining targets, or like how do you work with that?
So that's what it was last year.
Hmm.
Obviously it was a volume based approach. It was a dollar amount. It was to try to get to that top 1.5%,
Yep.
which I thought that was a pipe dream. People never get there,
Dude.
and it, made it, So for last year it was that,
Crazy.
but
Okay.
I readjusted in December and I started thinking, okay, what are your plans for, this upcoming year? So for
Yeah.
example, it's far from a dollar goal this year. For me, it was opening up new channels and avenues of business
All
in the
right.
markets that I am in. One of them being going after a lot of these luxury lease communities
Mm-hmm.
in my sphere in downtown over here.
Yep.
So, the plan was it's take a step back in some regards on the volume or that number on what I want to make or what I want to produce in terms of selling home. But it was more so about creating a separate business within a business, especially in shifting times where I would become the luxury leasing expert. I would
Wow.
start a group that basically I'll represent all of these buildings in downtown in LA. And at that time, I wasn't representing anything. As of
Hmm.
today, I'm representing 3 high-rise communities,
Dude.
and there's a couple more that are coming. And thank God for that, because look,
Awesome.
when things slow down on this end, that side is picking up where it could
Yes.
probably do more than I made last year in regards to,
Crazy.
that production. So it's for me, it's achieving not just monetary goals. Look,
Hmm.
success is not all just the dollar figure, right?
Yeah.
I know it's how we're measured in our business. That's how the top 1.5% is measured. And
Right.
I understand that completely.
Right.
But for me, it's a long-term goal of setting a sustainable business that could operate also without me being there. On the real estate side, you can't really do that. On
Yeah.
the what I'm creating right now with the luxury leasing groups up, there is a
Hmm.
way to kind of automate that, create a team to create a business that, hey, you could be on vacation and all of a sudden there's money rolling in.
Deals are still
So,
flowing. Right.
and
Wow.
it's not just that itself too. It's, hey, can you create another route in a business that traditionally has always been just one-sided?
Right.
There's a buy side, there's a sell side, but can
Right.
you create a whole nother channel that it's been there, but can it actually become so profitable that it overtakes even just
Wow.
regular standard production? So
Right.
for me, that's been a mission and a goal this entire year. And now, today actually just got the word a couple of days ago where, hey, you got another community.
No
And
way.
we're working on some bigger
Congratulations.
ones too. Right now, I'm working on one that's 600 units itself, and then
Dude, crazy.
once you get to that point, then it's creating a team and a whole business around that. So,
Right.
there's no goal in terms of the dollar amount, because I was happy. I told myself if I made $0 this year off
Wow.
of selling properties
Yeah.
and listings and things like that, but
Right.
that when I created this the year after, I would make more than 2 years put in one. And
Man.
that's already kind of, it's more than balanced out. Obviously, I
Right.
haven't stopped producing on this end,
Of
but
course.
already now that started as a, just a little baby seed in the soil. And now
Dude.
that's sprouting to the point where that'll
Wow.
easily do six figures in itself this year. So,
Wow.
and that's
Insane.
that's just start, and this is just the start, but that
Just
comes
the
with a
start.
lot of branding, that
Of
comes with a
course.
lot of marketing, it comes with a
Right.
lot of, to your point, it's funny you mentioned this earlier, which it's not something I ever think about in regards to my brand. And does that work? Because we're in a generation where people are watching TikToks and they want these
Mhm.
funny dances and these funny skits. So is that archaic at this point? Is that a foregone conclusion? Like having some kind of, the specific brand I have and the messaging in that audience. But the reason that two of these communities brought me on this, they reached out to me. They said, we saw your brand. We like the feel. We love the style. It's an elevated brand, yet it's in tune with still with this demographic and audience of today,
Yes.
combining that with that DTLA Insider page I have. So I have
Yes.
both sides of it. And they said that that's what we need for this community, because these are
Wow.
luxury communities.
Right.
Sure, they could bring in somebody that has 2 million followers, a TikTok realtor, this, that. It doesn't fit it doesn't align with their values. It doesn't align with their community messaging and all of that. So I
Wow.
was like, holy crap, you've been thinking the last 3, 4 years that is anybody even listening?
Yeah.
No, really. Is anybody
Right.
watching? Is anybody even listening? Is this even part of it? But to hear that from them, a couple of weeks when they first reached out, I was like, that,
Huge
it just,
validation.
it's a major validation, So it's like, look,
Wow.
you're doing something right. And there's something for everyone, and you may not, that TikTok generation may not gravitate towards you, or, there's an audience that won't. But
Yeah.
guess what? You obviously have your audience. And based
Right.
on what it was that your business plan was and who you were going after and what you wanted your clientele to be, they are gravitating towards your
Yeah.
content. And so for me, that was big validation, and
Wow.
that's what actually is starting to get me these jobs. So
Dude.
yeah,
Awesome.
so again, there's times I'm like, should I jump on there and dance and should I do something?
Yeah.
But, again, then that could, and again, I'm not saying don't do that. Be
Right.
you, be whoever you are, be what your
Yes.
brand is, and that clientele and that business will follow suit.
Yeah, well, that's so like what I love about that is like it started with just you being genuine and authentic. Like you and like that's what they fell in love with. And that's what is so like easy for you to continue to do content and make it like almost like harmonious. It's just like this is me. I could just wake up and like this is already like what I would be talking about anyways. That's awesome. And on your point about the like asking about financial targets, like because that I go back to doing that, like, if I want to make X, then like, this is the business and this is sort of thing. And I love that going like I call it just like going like a layer deeper, like the gray area of just like, well, the metrics of how we define and like measure our lives, it's so much more deeper than obviously just like the amount of money rolling in, right? And like there's
Mhm.
a lot of different ways to do that. But what I love about like the way that you redefine sort of like your plan is just like you just like you're playing the game better. Like you want to play the game better at a higher level. And that just ultimately led to this type of revenue coming from like a place where it's just like you redefined what is possible in the business where people like approach real estate. And like you said, it's just like, well, it's buy side or, or sell side. That's it. And then you're like, well, I'm going to do this in my own way and make this my own way. And like, look at the success that it's leading to. That's so awesome.
I mean, it's a
So
marathon, not a sprint, Noah.
yeah,
And and
certainly.
sometimes if you think about it, and I've done this plenty of times, you're taking one step back to take two
Mhm.
steps forward. You
Yes.
have to believe when you're taking that step back that you're
Oh
gonna
boy.
slingshot back forward. And yeah,
Right.
we never know, but if you believe in
No,
yourself, you know. Yeah.
dude, I love that. So just to like, I want to pivot a little bit more towards just like, almost like personal philosophy now. Like what like how do you define success now? What are those values? Like what does that trait look like for you? Like when you talk about like longevity in your business, like what is like how do you define that for yourself now?
So success to me, I mean, again, it's not a monetary thing. I don't want
Mhm.
to base it on that. Obviously,
Yeah,
that's a huge, huge part of it.
of course.
And it leads into what I'm going to get into right now. Success for me is happiness, happiness for the people around me, security for the people around me, being able to
Yeah.
provide to, like I said, I have a wife now. I got
Mhm.
a little son, which is Rocco the dog.
I
He
love
rules the
it. I
household.
love
But
it.
it's being able to provide for them. It's being able to, one thing I'm learning right now, which I don't have a lot, is having freedom of time,
Yep.
which is something that I feel that, when you measure the ultimate form of success, sure, how do you get more time? Well, obviously you have to create a business that makes money, that's sustainable, that allows you to, be in Cabo or on a beach somewhere where it's
Yes.
still generating business.
Right. But
That
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 requires a
freedom
lot of
of
time.
time is where it is. No, really. So
Yeah.
to have that freedom of time, that's success, because for me,
Mm.
it's 24/7. I mean, I feel bad for my wife. We'll have dinner, and it'll just be two phones going off, this, that,
Yeah.
and I have 1,000 things coming at me.
Right.
I've become better at managing that, but I
Uh-huh.
realize that that's ultimate success for me is creating that freedom. And that
Uh-huh.
comes with creating a sustainable business that can operate without you being there, which is why I started that leasing side of things. Now,
Wow.
again, you have to be there just
Yeah.
with any other business. You have to have oversight, but then you turn into more of a managerial business management type of thing versus
Mhm.
working in your business, which is
Right.
what we're doing. And I'm
Right.
like, what happened if you stop working today?
Falls apart.
Okay, so that's part of it. So success for me, freedom of time. Success for me is happiness for the people around me. Success for me is,
Oh.
not having to go back in a certain way. There's always more. I'm very content and happy with where I am in life,
Mhm.
but I always have the drive and desire for more. And
Yeah.
more is not, like I said, always monetary.
Right.
It's success in life is, look, I never thought a few years ago that I'd have a business that was
Yeah.
operating at the level that it is, that I would be
Right.
married, that I would be, all these things,
Yeah.
living in a high rise in downtown Los Angeles, all these
Right.
things were pipe dreams to me.
Yes.
It was, but now you look at that, and again, it's important to zoom out sometimes because I'm like, you haven't done shit, and I'm like, zoom out. Where were you 8 years ago? You hit
Yeah,
it rock
dude.
bottom. You had
Seriously.
zero. You didn't know what you were going to do.
Wow.
4 years ago, you started all over again in the real estate side of things.
Wow.
And so you have to zoom out sometimes in order to, appreciate and have gratitude for where you are,
Mhm.
but you have to zoom in to understand that, hey, there's a lot more, and you have to focus on the day in, day out activities because that's going to get you to where you want to be. But
Right.
that's about having a plan. That's about
Dude.
having a bigger picture.
Wow.
You're not going to
Those
get there overnight, but
no.
focus on, when you were
Wow.
saying, do you have goals in terms of, monetary goals or benchmark? No,
Mhm.
but I do have goals in terms of, hey, this is where I want to be in 3 years, and I'll break that down in 5 years. This is where
Yes.
you have to be year one, year two, year three, year four. Now,
Right.
the monetary side financially, yeah, sure, there's financial, attachments that come with that. For example,
Mhm.
create this business, can it create 30,000 the first year, 50,000 the next year, and then 200,000? So there is that, and I look at it like that, and I focus on those specific tasks versus the big picture because the big picture will drive me crazy.
Right.
I'm not there yet. I'm never gonna get there. So it's important to break that down, but look, it's important to zoom out and look at where you've come, man.
Yeah.
You may not be where you want to be, but you're a lot better than where you came from. So
Certainly, certainly, and it's just like having that plan, almost like the pursuit of getting to that is what it's all about. I mean, we know that,
it's easier said at the end of the day, but it
100%.
it really is though. I mean, we've
Yeah.
been through this thing called life, so we should know that.
Yeah.
It's all about the process. I mean, it may not be fun all the time, but
Yeah.
hey, it's part of it.
That's so cool. Well, because like what's beautiful about that is like again, focusing on the inputs, which is like not being so tied to a specific outcome and having an explanation and leaving that just sort of like, I'm gonna allow this to naturally evolve. And again, almost going back to like the authenticity behind it. But also just being like, you know what? Like I never thought where I'm at right now would be possible. And you can
Right.
see the possibilities out there. So you're like, why not continue to play this at like the highest level possible? Like it's just if it's
100%.
invigorating and exciting and like I want to do this. I couldn't imagine spending my time on anything else. And like
Right.
like that's always like what I try to come back to as well.
Yeah, and I think that also depends on who you're around. I mean, for
Yeah.
me, yeah, top 1.5%. Well, we have a lot of people in our company that we have people that are doing killer numbers.
Right.
Number one in the country, things like that. And again, so when you're around that, it just you feed off of it. So it's
Yeah.
like, who am I to say I made it or I did something or
Right.
when you're looking at these people and they're like, okay, that was. I'm like, you got top 0.001% on Monday. They're like, well, today's Tuesday.
Back to work.
That's it, and so
Yeah.
you feed off of that, and then you
Of
see that
course.
success, and you realize that that success is not being top 1.5%. It's not
Right.
about making $100 million a year. It's not about.
Yeah.
It's about achievement. It's about
Right.
being better than where you were yesterday, and it's about
Mm.
continuously working towards a goal that's constantly moving, that's evolving, that's changing in the sense that you're adding new goals, and there's new channels, and there's new places to conquest. So
Right.
that's all part of it. So I think we get a little bit shaky and weary sometimes, like, okay, I haven't made it, or I'm finally there. No, you're
Yeah.
not. You
Uh,
shouldn't think like that because that's what's creating that weariness. It's a
right.
journey. There's no destination here. The
Yeah.
destination is the journey.
Right.
So, and it's constantly changing. So
Yeah. Wow.
that's where my head's at with that.
I mean, I love it because like the goals and like that only it's like you define it for yourself. It only needs to make sense to you. Like that's the freedom in pursuing that is like I see it. It only needs to make sense to me, and that's okay. Like maybe the decisions that I'm making, maybe, yeah, on the outside are crazy to other people, like I'm doing this or I'm doing that, but like
Right.
I see it, it makes sense to me. I can feel it, I can taste it, I want it. I don't know any other way to go about it.
Your life, no,
Yeah,
you
it's your
know, I
life.
mean, your life.
Ah,
So,
I love
you
it.
can't blame anybody at the end of the day. You know, well, I looked at this person and that person, or this person said that. It's your life. So at the end of the day, the only person that you can blame, the only person that you could thank, the only person, it's you. So take accountability for your actions.
Wow.
You know, it's anything and everything I believe is in your hands. So, oh, this happened to me. Well, then you probably let it to some extent. And don't get me wrong,
Yeah,
there's certain things that, they're freak of nature type, action, things like
of
that
course.
happen. But again, I think, taking accountability for your life and everything that is good and bad kind of changes your psyche and your mindset and your way of thinking. Like, look, do you want that? Well, you can do it. You don't want
Right.
that? Well, you can't do it too. So it's up to
Wow.
you.
Dude, I love it. I think we should just leave it at that. That was so strong. Amelia, again, thank you so much for joining me. Like, seriously, I just
Thank you for
couldn't
having me,
appreciate it more.
man.
Thank you so
I
much.
am humble. I don't know why I'm on here. I feel like you have a lot bigger fish that you work with, but
No, no.
this was fun. And it actually
Appreciate it.
just
Yeah.
reminded me we have to have a little conversation on some ads and stuff that I actually
Ah,
want to launch for a
you
new
got it.
company.
My
So
pleasure. It
this
would be
came at
my
the perfect
pleasure.
timing. You see that?
Fantastic. Where if anybody is looking to work with you, where can they find you? Where do you want to send them?
So they could find me at on my Instagram. I would say is one of my biggest platforms at Moussavy. That's MMOUSSAVY. I also run a downtown LA based lifestyle page called DTLA Insider,
Yep.
which goes hand in hand with the real estate sides and to some effect.
Mhm.
And you can see us on YouTube as well on DTLA Insider. We just recently started a channel, and that's starting to gain traction.
Oh, I
So
love it. Fantastic. And I'll definitely link all that stuff in the show
appreciate it,
notes for
Noah.
this today as well. Again, Media, thank you so much. I appreciate
Pleasure
it.
was mine, sir. All right,
Everyone
Noah.
listening, appreciate you guys. Thank you. And I will see you guys in the next episode.
Take care, Noah.